I shouldn't at 40 be having to think, should I be a stripper again? Even if I wanted to, I don't even think strippers be making money like that anymore. But I'm like becoming aged. My ability to hawk my body, my looks, my youth to rich, entitled men is dwindling. And under other circumstances, I would say that's a win. But when I'm sitting here trying to think of a way out of this trap, and I look at my titties and I think, can I still use these to my advantage? And the answer is like, I mean, maybe, but should you have to do that if you don't want to?
Do you see what a metaphysical can of worms this portal is?
Today, I'm going to talk a bit about something that is not only strongly in my heart and in my mind, but it is in my fucking face every day. And that is the emotional reality of poverty, yes, but not just abject poverty. I'm talking about people who are like hovering just above the poverty line, who don't necessarily fit the stereotypical image of poverty. It isn't the most extreme cases I'm speaking to, although I want to acknowledge that the emotional reality of just hovering above the poverty line is so demoralizing and exhausting and relentless as I've experienced it in recent years. And I know for a fact everything that I'm going to say here is going to apply even more to people who are living well under the poverty line, which I have also experienced earlier in my life. But I was younger then, mostly when I was a child. Now as an adult, I'm in that zone right there on the poverty line. I'm holding it together. So from the outside, you wouldn't be able to tell. But my morning routine is begin the day with my chest and lungs completely gripped by existential fear at how am I going to make enough money to pay my rent. And after the day I had today, I just feel like I'm so tired right now, and I'm pretty sure that comes through, and I do apologize, but I feel like, you know what? I'm reporting live and direct from inside the struggle, and I'm just going to keep it real. And I want to talk about the reality that so many of us face. I'm going to talk about some of my own personal experiences. And I'm even going to Google some real numbers, some real data. Because I'm pretty sure it's many, many tens of millions or maybe even more. Maybe it's hundreds of millions of people who are dealing with the emotional and cognitive burden that is not being able to afford life. Like scraping by just to have your basic needs met. I hesitated to make this video because I fear that it would come off as like trauma porn or complaining or just being negative, pessimistic. But ultimately I decided already long ago that I'll always be misunderstood by some people. I'll always be misjudged by some people. And guess what? It's none of my business. So I'm just going to be real. I'm going to be real about my experience. And I'm sharing this so that others who are in the same position can feel seen. Like, I see you. I know how hard this is. I want to really lift up people like this and just honor your strength and your resilience, your resourcefulness, your creativity, and that grit and will that it takes to just keep going day in and day out when it feels like you can barely even take a breath. When you're living close to the edge, the margin for error is non-existent. The cognitive load that it takes, unless you've experienced it, you can't understand. And it's these feedback loops and cascading problems. It's where something that should be one simple decision becomes 12 different decisions, because it's like, okay, I need to get to work. I can just pay for an Uber and go straight to work. Problem solved with a little bit of money. But if you don't have a little bit of money, it becomes checking various bus routes, train routes, noting the weather, noting the time, seeing if there are e-bikes or e-scooters nearby, because at least in the city that I live in, poor people do get their Lime bike and like VO bikes subsidized. We get discounted programs. So it's like, for some of them, it's like unlimited rides for up to 30 minutes, and it's $15 a month. So, you know, you're taking all these different things into consideration. You decide, okay, the most efficient way in this weather is going to be this. So I walk to a Lime bike, I get to the Lime bike, and the Lime bike has a flat tire. And then I walk to another, and it won't start for some reason. And by this point, I've already walked 7 blocks in my, by the way, mismatched Crocs with worn down Dr. Scholl's inserts, because my shoes are so worn down that I had to put 2 together so that I could feel that I'm walking more evenly, because walking in worn down shoes, when I take 10 to 20,000 steps a day on average, it really hurts the sciatica. It starts messing with my knees. It causes a real debilitating issues that I can't have happen when I must be standing and walking around in order to make a living. So now I'm walking. I haven't even got to where I'm going yet, and I'm trying 3 or 4 different of these e-bikes. Finally, I get one that works, and by that time, I'm already limping. My back already hurts, and I've made 17 decisions. That is how the day starts. I eat that shit for breakfast before I even get to work. And that's not so that people can feel bad for me. That's so people can know, like, this is how we're living out here. This is all day long. And that might not sound like a big deal, like, oh, you have to walk around and find Lime bikes. Well, it takes hours out of my day on average. I did apply for the e-bike lottery, which they had. I don't know if they're going to have again next year, because all good things are going away. But they were giving out $1,500 e-bike incentive vouchers. But for the 3rd year in a row, I wasn't selected, because like the life rafts in the Titanic, it's just so many people that need this stuff and so few resources. So every little problem compounds. Any little, I accidentally let the timer run on the Lime bike for 32 minutes instead of 30 minutes. Well, now I have $1.67 charge that just went through on my bank card, and guess what? My account was already on 0. So now I have a $35 charge. You see how that works? And this like decision fatigue, this is a real thing. This isn't just a thing that a poor has made up because they're tired. This is an actual thing that psychologists talk about. This is something I've heard people in high-powered positions talk about, like Obama, Steve Jobs, for example. He wore the same outfit every day. He was making sure that he was budgeting his limited decision-making powers and channeling them into these important high-powered choices that he was making. Someone like Steve Jobs would have to make a lot of decisions every day, and it would get exhausting, and so he could minimize that. And even with high-powered executives and politicians who make a lot of decisions and, max out their cognitive ability at times, at least they're getting something in return for it. They're getting accolades, awards, pay bonuses, vacations. What are the poors getting? What are us middle poors getting? Just another day without something catastrophic happening is the best I can hope for. And maybe a box of food from the food bank, which, by the way, limitation is the mother of ingenuity, because I tell you, I have been throwing down some delicious meals with the random shit that comes from the food bank. So, not going to say I'm not grateful for that. That is a big win. But there's a clear disparity. The cognitive load is real. The physical load, because again, I'll use today as an example. By the time I get to my first dog walk, I've already walked around to multiple e-bikes, found one that works, and it's snowing and it's like sleeting. So I'm covered in ice. All my layers are soaked through, all except for my feet. Shout out Vessies. One of my dog walking clients / friends gifted me a pair of Vessies for my 40th birthday, and they have saved me. My feet have been the only thing warm and dry, no matter what's been going on with the weather. So, #blessed with the Vessies. But everything else that I wear is like over a decade old, coats with holes in it, rain jackets that are basically a tarp with an Adidas logo. You get more than a misting and it's soaked through. So I'm wearing like 4 layers that are all saturated with cold, icy water. I'm covered in ice. I have to keep digging e-bikes out of the ice. And my shoes are getting real worn down because of how much I walk. So now I'm starting to get the sciatic pain, not just with my mismatched Crocs, but also with my Vessies, because I've been walking in them for months, like nonstop. And the cold wind, I can feel it in my bones. It's like my bones have ESPN or something. They're like, oh, it's 100% chance sleeting. Ow. And I'm walking for work, and I'm biking for work, and I'm carrying a week's worth of groceries home on my back. You know what? Let me back up, because I can't even afford a week's worth of groceries at once anymore. That was what I was doing, a year or 2 ago. But still, I'm carrying heavy groceries back. Whatever $37 can get me or whatever. Which isn't as heavy as it should be. But I digress. That all takes such a physical toll. And then I come home and I also have to manage home. I have to walk my dogs, bathe my dogs. I have to clean my home. I have to make sure the systems stay in place so that my life doesn't totally spiral out because of all the tiny, teeny, tiny hairline margin for error that I have. That requires me to keep going, go, go. And I am so fucking depleted by the end of the day, or by the beginning of the day, that how do I come up with a solution to the problems long term? It feels like such a trap Oh, and don't forget, I also had to rush home from an icy, snowy day, hurry up, get looking polished and professional to go all the way to the other corner of the city for a job interview. And again, like 3 different bikes. And then I get on one Lime bike and I'm going and I'm like, all right, boom. I wanted to be earlier, but I'm still going to be 5 minutes early. I can change out of my muddy shoes. I can get my notebook out, misprepared. And then I get a flat tire in the middle of Rock Creek Park. And there's nothing that can be done. I can't just go hop over and call an Uber. I just can't. I don't have $36.99 in all my accounts put together half the time. Because it's just going straight out to the utility, the little bit of food that I scrounged together, and the rent. Oh, dear God, the rent. So then I rush down, I do a job interview. By the way, nailed it. Nailed it. Got offered a job on the spot at a really nice place. A historic landmark. Okay. Proud of myself. Grateful. I'm doing another interview tomorrow. Another renowned place. So I am blessed and I am privileged, and I do recognize that. It doesn't negate the material lived reality that's happening. It doesn't negate the wear and tear on my body and mind. Because after all that, then I made my way home, multiple bus fiasco. It's fine. I'm blessed to even have public transit. Okay. Get home. And I feed my dogs dinner, realize, holy shit, they only have 1 more day's worth of kibble left. My gas bill's also due tomorrow. I don't have any money. I go to take a piss. There's 1 square of toilet paper left. There's no more toilet paper. I don't have money to replace the toilet paper. It just never fucking seems to end. And this is just one day. This isn't like a special standout day. This is very, very typical for me. This is very, very typical for you know what? Let's see. I'm going to tell you exactly the numbers. 51 million Americans live just above the poverty line. 43.7 million in official poverty. Sick. This is an average day. In fact, now there's this core memory. It happened last year. I had worked all day dog walking in the heat. I came home, did what I needed to do for my own home, my own dogs. Didn't have time to eat, but I did book a gig doing a tarot event because I'm always trying to diversify, my income streams and whatnot. And I love doing tarot, so that was a huge blessing. It ended up going hours later than I anticipated it would. Again, a huge blessing. I needed the money, and it was a beautiful, energetic exchange. But I came home extremely exhausted after having gone nonstop without a break for 17 hours. And I hadn't had time to eat. I can't afford to stop and eat anywhere. So it's either I have food at home or I have food that I've packed to bring with me, or I don't eat. I didn't eat. My head hurts, low blood sugar. I was in a hookah nightclub situation. So on a completely empty stomach. And I'm just like, dear Lord, I just want to eat something, fill my tummy, and take a hot shower and just pass out. I get home and I look in the fridge, and the only thing there for me to eat is a container of plain white leftover rice. And I ate it. I did. I pulled up a chair to my kitchen counter and I ate that motherfucking rice, and it was seasoned with my salty tears. Because I was definitely also crying. That I am working this hard. And I am also I feel like I'm a good person who puts good out into the world, and I work really hard, and this is my reality. It was such a emotional slap in the face, and it's stayed with me. Not just because I feel bad that I have to go through hard things. It does suck. I don't deserve to go through hard things. But it's also that my situation is reflecting a greater systemic issue. And it's getting worse and worse. I've become one of those people when I go to the grocery store by myself that I'm talking out loud. I'm reading the prices and I'm going, I'm sorry, what? $10.99 for a 6-pack of Hot Pockets? I'm sorry, what? $8 for a bottle of Rouse? Huh? Are you really telling me it's $7.99 if I want some peanut butter filled pretzels so that that'll be my lunch for work throughout the week? Can't afford that. So I just object out loud all throughout my shopping. Not in an invasive way, but in an expressive way. And I'd like to think the people around me totally know where I'm coming from. Because what the fuck? We don't deserve to live like this. Well, maybe some of us do. Some of us are probably pieces of shit. But most of us don't deserve to live like this. And also, I think it's got this extra layer of sting because I'm 40 and I thought for sure after all these years of being responsible and working hard that by this point I would not be in fear every day for my basic needs to be met. In my 20s, I made a lot of stupid decisions, and I could more easily draw a line from there to where the hardship I would experience at times. But now, this is just I feel like I was sold a lie. I feel like we were sold a lie. We are busting our ass. And what do we have to show for it? And again, I want to reiterate, I understand that I have so much going for me, and even Americans who are living just above the poverty line have so much going for them that other people don't. There are many privileges and blessings that come even among the hardship. But both things can be true. It's not one or the other. I can be grateful and recognize all that I have going for me, and I can work to reframe negative thoughts that I have about my struggle and, look for the good and look for the lessons. And I can also say, this is unfair and I'm exhausted and this isn't sustainable. And what can we do? And that's really where I'm at. I don't have a solution. That was another reason I hesitated to even make this video, because I don't have an answer. I don't have a positive spin to put on it. I just want to acknowledge that if you're like me, I see you. Real recognize real. I see your strength, the mental fortitude, the drive that it takes to get through every day, because nothing is easy and your life is full of friction because you just don't have enough money to just exist comfortably. Not be wealthy, just exist comfortably. It's just diabolical that in the year of our Lord 2026, me as a middle-aged, hard-working, responsible person is having to seriously evaluate and reevaluate my own values and limitations and boundaries and see where I'm willing to compromise so that I'm not unhoused, so that I don't lose everything and lose my dogs. I shouldn't at 40 be having to think, should I be a stripper again? even if I wanted to, I don't even think strippers be making money like that anymore. But I'm like becoming aged. My ability to hawk my body, my looks, my youth to rich, entitled men is dwindling. And under other circumstances, I would say that's a win. But when I'm sitting here trying to think of a way out of this trap, and I look at my titties and I think, can I still use these to my advantage? And the answer is like, I mean, maybe, but should you have to do that if you don't want to? I shouldn't have to even be asking myself this. I'm very sex positive and pro sex work if it's ethical and if it's done for the right reasons by the right people who want to be there. I don't want to fuck people for money. I don't want to... Bro, I can't even. My bunions could never with those fucking stripper heels. So not only can I mentally and emotionally not deal with regressing back to those survival mechanisms, but my body just can't anymore. And I shouldn't have to sell my ass to pay rent in a modest apartment in a shithole neighborhood. What the frick? I'm gonna leave it on this note. I hope that you feel seen if you're right here with me on this wave. You are a badass. If you are somebody who's not in this position, I hope that you can see and appreciate people in a different situation than you in a new way. In not just a statistics and data way or an abstract way, but like realizing that so many people you see around you all day, probably people you connect with even, who look quote unquote normal and fine, this is their lived reality.
Out the door, you see someone that you know and they ask you how you are, and you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
It is exhaustion and burnout and despair because it just feels like it's getting harder and harder and the prices are going up and up, and I think it deserves to be acknowledged. The strength that it takes to just keep going and keep moving forward and keep just trusting that somehow, some way things are going to work out for you. And to those of you with me in the struggle, I want to say don't give up. Not just for yourself and not just for if you have kids or pets, those who rely on you, but keep going out of spite. Because fuck that.
It's as good a thing as any to keep a person going. Better than most.
I refuse to be defeated by these greedy, psychopathic billionaires who just want to extract everything from me and throw me away like I have no value. I have value. You have value. This is my small revolution. I refuse to shut the fuck up. I refuse to stop dreaming. I refuse to stop hoping. And I refuse to stop being creative. And I encourage you to join me. Join me, comrade. In whatever small ways you can. Just know that I see you. And you're a real fucking badass. Reporting live from inside the struggle, this is Liz Lux. Back to you in the studio, Fennec. Nothing to say? A Pokemon of few words. I'm caked in ice. But I am pretending that I'm beyond the Great Wall in the north. And that helps. Can't really see out of these, can I? No, I can't. No, I can't. I got one. I'm trying to get all the ice off of it and the snow. I can't see out of my glasses and my gloves are now completely soaked. So that's going to hurt. Okay, well, okay. Oh my face looks quite chapped. I'm overstimulated. Damn. I look like a professional grown-up. Grown-up professional. Got you fooled. Full. But I do still have my a little bit of flair. Ooh, I'm looking business casual as fuck. Night night world.